And, I felt kind of bad. I didn't get to bring you guys a stream this week. So today we're bringing you like a super streaming Saturday. That's the idea here. I've got big plans for what I would like to do today. If any of y'all have spoken with Chris, sometimes my eyes and my hopes and ambitions get a little bit ahead of myself. So I don't want to lay out everything I want to bring you today, but I want to bring you a lot. It should be a really cool Saturday. Or if you guys are catching this later, there's going to be a whole lot in it. What I can tell you is we're going to get to a handful of games today. But first, right out of the gate, Wolverine Studios, Draft Day Sports, Pro Football 2021. We are still in the early access period for this game, so there's a lot of changes going on. This is the second stream that I've brought you of this game, and there have already been 2 or 3 updates. Go check the forums. The updates are unbelievable how much work they're putting into this right now. As a special guest, we're bringing in Asker. He's one of the guys that's actually working on this game. If you want to say hey to all of the fans out there.
Hi guys. I'm very happy to be here. I think my stream is a bit delayed, so it looks like you're talking still.
Yeah, I do think the stream is a little bit delayed. That's actually probably an OBS setting that Chris and I set up a while back. So if there's a little bit of weirdness there, guys, you all know I've only been streaming for so long. So we're still learning how it goes, and this is the first time that we've tried to stream with any kind of guest, any kind of like more than one person. So it's very much a work in progress and figuring out on my end as well. But wanted to bring him in just because you guys know I've streamed a lot of the college basketball. I haven't been able to stream or I haven't played as much of the pro football. And so I want to make sure there's a lot of stuff that this game can do, but I'm still learning where all the buttons are. So if we run into any kind of weird issues, he's going to jump in and help us out. And if it's my user error making them look bad, he's going to show me what I'm doing wrong and figure it out. But I think anytime he's got anything to say or jump in or add, he's going to jump in and say whatever he like. My screen won't turn around today.
I'll be polite.
Yeah, we'll all be polite with each other because we all understand, what, we're all learning how to work through everything now with this, worldwide corona stuff going on. So if we can work together on that, I'm sure we can work together to have a little bit of fun on a Saturday with some sports sims, guys. So we're going to dive right into it. You guys know, again, this is really one of the first times I've got to dive deep into the Draft Day Sports Pro Football game. You guys know I got my Cincinnati Bengals over here. Last stream, I brought you all the very first game of my very first season. Yeah. We got the Bengals gear. Chris, thanks for the shout out. Finally found. I looked for it for the last stream and couldn't find it, but we got the Bengals shirt going on. I've got the hat. I don't like. I like the Cards hat on backwards because it kind of fills out. This one's not quite as cool. And if I wear it the correct way, the bill covers up my whole face and you can't see anything. So I put it back here. I could But yeah, we got some Bengals gear. We're rocking it. We're rocking the gear a lot harder than we're rocking the wins and losses in the league, though. So I did, guys, play through that entire first year as well as the next year. I wanted to get in a little bit of the offseason, a little bit of the draft, a little bit of the free agents so that I could kind of get a feel for it, see what I'm doing. I can tell you, yeah, the Joe Burrow era starts today right here. I absolutely agree. And he's been one of the few bright spots. I can tell you guys, I have not had great luck so far. I think my best season, I played 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I don't know. My best was not good. I'm drafting in the top 3 every time. And if you check out the league media over here, we're not projected to do very well this year either. So it's all a big time learning experience for me coming into this. Some of it is just learning how things work. Like the first year, I used the auto roster over here. When you set up your practice squad versus your main squad in the roster management screen, I did auto adjust. And as you guys know, AJ Green got cut. Geno Atkins got cut. We had a handful of cuts that wasn't necessarily what I intended to do, but it happened. And so that's just a learning experience. Same thing with free agency. Still learning how that works and how it moves through the periods. Every game's going to handle that a little bit differently. So I didn't necessarily do in free agency what I would want to do. It was more like learning as you go, and then as you figure out what you're doing a little bit, try to make up for lost time, I guess. So some of what I've done in this save so far isn't how I would traditionally go about building an NFL team, because to me, like, football's won and lost on the line. You got to have offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and that's how you win and lose games. Do you need to have an at least competent quarterback? Yeah, absolutely. You need competent players across the field, but those linemen make huge differences. And so a lot of times I would focus there. But, like I said, free agency didn't go exactly the way that I expected it to. What ended up happening was I missed a lot of the high-end quality players in the first year, so I had a huge amount of money left over. And so you guys can see here what I actually did with it was I dumped a huge contract onto Robert Woods, and he's got a pretty good overall ranking here. I can also tell you, if you come in and look at him, and again with all these new like personality ratings and skill ratings, when you start looking at this, look at the leadership at 99, work ethic at 89, he's competitive, he's a really good all-around player. So I put far more money into a free agent wide receiver who's 30 years old than I would ever recommend to somebody to do. That's just not the way that I go about building a football team. But at the same time, I had like $30 or $40 million in cap space. And you guys know, as Chris already brought up, this is the Joe Burrow era. So you got to give your boys somebody to go deep to. And I figured Robert Woods would be a great pickup since we had the extra money. So I spent a little bit of money there. As I mentioned, we've already gone through a couple of drafts. I've still got Joe Mixon around. We lost our other top runner, but he was wanting crazy money coming off of an ACL tear, so that was not going to happen. We've lost a lot of our depth at tight end, and again, part of that is just me learning the cycle and the flow of the season, because I wasn't paying attention and re-signing my guys throughout the year. Any of you guys... Yeah, Jared Goff used Robert Woods real well. You're absolutely right, Chris. Robert Woods is a good wide receiver. And here's John Ross, one of the most controversial first-round picks of the Bengals lately. He's not doing it in this game, and that's not very surprising. To me, that's indicative of how good the engine is, because John Ross is still just dragging behind, to be quite honest. So that's about what I expect out of him in real life. But what I was saying is I missed out on extending some of the contracts, guys. So one of the things you need to be making sure you're doing is when you get into a new season, and we're here, I have simmed through the preseason, but when you get into a new season, make sure you jump over and check out your contracts page. So that's going to show you down here at the bottom. You can see I'm in 2022, and I'm actually well over the cap, and for next year I'm pretty close to it. But what you can see here in 2023, any of these guys with $0, they're going to be free agents if you don't re-sign them. So right now is the time to re-sign them. Being that next year I've still got about $8 million in cap space, so I've got a little bit that I can work with here. Now DJ Reader, he's making $7 million a year, and to be quite honest, he's not quite worth that to me. So you can always, if you want to extend a contract, this is how you do it. You click in to the actual player. You can take a look here at their skill ratings, their personality ratings, their player skills, and you can come over to this contract option. And here it's going to tell you what this guy's actually looking for. He's looking for $6.5 million a year. All right, he's a 28-year-old defensive tackle. If I'm going to pay a defensive tackle $6.5 million a year, I'd like to be getting my money's worth. So here you go. 2020, he started all 16 games. He had 54 tackles. Last year, he only started 7 games and had 11 tackles, 1 for a loss. And I can tell you guys, he wasn't injured. So there's no way on earth I'm re-signing this guy to that kind of contract. Now, I will say I'm a little disappointed because in the first year when he was playing a lot, throughout the year, as you play the games, and you'll see this when I get going, as you play the games, you're going to get output up here in your inbox, and your coaches are going to tell you who played a good game, who had a good morale, a good attitude, who performed well, and they're going to give those players scores. And Reeder actually popped up on that list fairly often. So I was pretty excited about this player. The only problem is he's not worth the kind of money that he's asking for. He's not worth what he's getting paid. He's not worth what he's getting what he's asking for. He's asking for more money than Joe Burrow's making. And let me tell you, Joe Burrow shows up on that list every single week. So this dude, he's only ranked, I think he's like an overall 86, but he's worth every single dollar that we're paying him. Now, Patrick Larson is a guy that I just drafted, so this was actually a rookie contract. I didn't negotiate this, but this is his first year. He was the second or third overall pick. Sorry. So, yeah, he's a rookie. And then Ivory Laney, another name that you're not going to recognize because this is another draft pick. He was my first overall pick last year. I'm sorry, not overall. He was my first round pick, but he was also top 5. Pick 3. So he was drafted round 1, pick 3. And, I mean, you can see he played and started in 15 games. He was a kick returner. He was a punt returner. Defensive stats, he had 80 tackles, 2 interceptions. He actually had 16 passes defended. And I know, sometimes some of these statistics that are buried in these football games, not everybody knows. It's easy to say like a 2,000-yard rusher, yeah, that's a historic kind of season. But some of these other statistics are a little bit hard to know, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, unless you're comparing it to other guys. When I looked at the end of last season at the times that the other teams tried to throw at Laney versus the times that he defended the pass, this was off the charts, guys. He was an absolute... there's no way he's a bust. He was a very good pick. I'm very happy to have him. So last year we drafted Laney, a shutdown cornerback, with the 3rd overall pick. This year we drafted Patrick Larson with the 2nd overall pick, a linebacker. And again, traditionally I would be building on the defensive and offensive lines. Defensive ends, I really want just a killer defensive end. But again, when it comes to football, sometimes you've got to decide between best player available, positional needs, and then, compare that against your own personal strategy or whatever it is that you're trying to do. So the past 2 years, when we get to the draft, and guys, you will see Pro Football 2021 draft on this stream today. I promise we're going to get there because it's got some really cool stuff going on with it too. But when you're in that position and you're drafting, you just got to figure out, you got to balance all these different options and figure out which way you want to go with it. So I'll take you through, I've shown you the top draft picks. Let me take you through the roster a little bit. What's up, Vattersalite? Glad to have you in chat. Glad to have you stopping by the stream. Hope you're enjoying it. Stick around with us because we're going to get into a lot of stuff today. It's going to be a great day. So let's take a look here at our roster. And so here it's got it sorted kind of in the traditional way that you normally see these things with the quarterback up front. So we've got Burrow, and we'll just take a quick look here at these overall ratings. I've also brought in this Stephen Watkins. I believe I signed him on. He was an undrafted free agent that I signed. And he's at a 77 overall, which is fairly decent in my opinion. We've still got Mixon. He's at an 88 overall. These other 2 guys, Hitt and Pfeiffer, these are both running backs that I just drafted in this past draft. And I actually believe that we are 1 short on a running back. Now here is one. Let's see. If we click roster management, practice, that shows our practice squad, which I only have 43 players on roster. I need to add some more players. And I'm very much capped out. I can probably still sign some guys to like minimum contracts. But one interesting thing, or one interesting question that I have, is if there's a screen somewhere that gives you that breakdown, like minimum quarterbacks versus maximum versus what you have on screen right now. I don't see it on roster.
I think it's at least on the draft page. We usually had it on the roster page.
Yeah, I've seen it in a handful of places. I think somewhere on the draft page it's for sure in there. And I believe if you try to sign a free agent, I think it will tell you at the specific position that you're attempting to sign. So let me clear this and just look at running backs. If we click one, oh, maybe not. Maybe I made that up. At some point, it might have been in the off season or when I was actually negotiating in the off season, it would show up on there. But I know if you have less than the minimum, the game will stop you before you can simulate. So at the very least, you're not going to go into a game shorthanded. But that's definitely a screen that would be cool to have somewhere. Like I could just click on roster, and it'd be a button that was available. Or even you can break these down by positions. So you can, if you just want to see our quarterbacks here. So if it like told you minimum, maximum, and that sort of stuff somewhere else, it could be helpful, especially in this, because I think I'm going to be a running back short. But at the same time, I mean, there's minimums and maximums. Oh, that's Coach Fury. What's up, Coach Fury? I didn't even recognize the name, man.
I think you should be good with 3 running backs. By the way, if you go up and check the player type drop-down, there should be one that says upcoming free agents.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and that'll give us their overalls, because if you just look at the other screen like what I was looking at, it'll show you anybody that doesn't have a contract next year. But, like, do I want to know about Colin Ruff, or do I want to know about Jonah Williams, who's sitting here at 85 overall? So this is a cool screen to see. I didn't even know it existed. And it'll show you the overalls. I want to see the rookies now. Hauschka is probably one that I'm going to have to let go. Hoyt Jackson, I believe, was a draft pick that I was pretty happy with. Tyler Boyd's an interesting one, you guys. If you know real NFL, Tyler Boyd's really the kind of emerging into one of the Bengals' better receivers, and he hasn't really been that good in this game so far. But you can also see here with these little icons to the side, he's mentoring T. Higgins, and Reader's, of course, mentoring somebody. So, just because they're not pulling it over here in the overall, there's a lot of information and a lot of depth to this, a lot of different personalities, leadership traits, all that sort of thing. So Tyler Boyd's going to be an interesting one to have to negotiate. I'm curious what he's asking for, because he brings a lot of other things to the table. I don't know that he brings $5 million a year to the table, though. To be worth $5 million a year, he needs to be bringing something on the field, I think. And receiving, I mean, you can see here, in 2 years, he doesn't even have 500 yards and only 3 touchdowns. So he really hasn't been performing. Williams is certainly somebody I'm going to want to re-sign. Reader I'll probably lay off of. Let's see if we can negotiate with Jonah Williams real quick while we're here. Now, see, he's making $2 a year. He's only asking for $2.5. He's only 24 years old. So this is 100% a guy I'd love to lock up. He's asking for about that, and we're going to go ahead and let that fly. Now, I have seen, and I'm interested, I'm going to go ahead and submit this offer. I feel like sometimes the requests for these contracts change a little bit, and I'm not sure if that's week to week, like their performances change and their expectations change a little bit, if that's an intentional thing, or if this is a little bit of like a fog of war type of thing where it's just giving you an idea of ballpark what they'd like to make. But yeah. I've seen that.
So actually, the desired contract is actually sort of your coach's guess for what he wants. And I think we've never really been able to sort of communicate that properly, because we had a bunch of users who said, well, I offered him what it said, and he didn't accept, and sometimes he even gets angry.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that earlier today.
So this is sort of like a ballpark kind of thing, and usually you'll have to go a bit over that. But you can. The whole idea is that you just have to have some sort of anchor so you can negotiate from there.
Perfect. Yeah, you absolutely have to have a starting point and have some idea of where to just start talking to this guy. But I experienced that same thing where a player said, 1 week, like they wanted $3.5 million or something like that, and I don't remember what I offered. But at some subsequent point, he was only asking for like $3, and when I made an offer, he got really mad, And so it's good to know that this is just going to be your coach's assumption, best guess, or something like that. So, it sounds like just because you offer this, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sign. And I can 100% attest to that. I definitely offered players more than this base salary, and they weren't signing. So with this being a player, he's started for us. He's played well. He's very young. I like round numbers, so I'm just going to offer 2 3/4, $2.75 million for him. And he's fairly young, so we'll leave that balance. Sometimes when I get to the older players, I like to front load those contracts a little bit so that if they, if they just age out and start to decline in skill, we can cut them. And we've already paid more of their salary early than late. But with a young guy like this, we can go balanced. I don't like to backload because it creates too much of a burden for me in the future. But if I can offer this, yeah. Now, is this one of the changes? This is a dark green box up here in the top right corner, and if I recall, it was more of like a green outlined white box more in the middle of a screen. Did that change?
Yeah, I actually don't know.
Okay.
So I think probably you don't want to offer him as a backup since he's already a rotational player, so that'll be sort of like a demotion.
That's a good point. And I am curious why that. Sometimes the position pre-populates to something that I don't necessarily expect. Do you have any insight on that?
I think we fixed that.
Okay.
Probably for the next build.
Okay.
Because I think it's simply just loading everything, but gotcha. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, I've actually. It seems like it wants to carry over. So like that. It was probably set at wide receiver because I was looking at Tyler Boyd to begin with. Because normally if I've gone in to negotiate, it sort of locks into whatever the first position I want to negotiate, and then I got to remember to change it. So guys, remember, this is still first access, early access. They're catching things like this. They're listening, they're here on the stream, and they're working on all these things. So this is all they're still moving forward on all this sort of stuff. But shout it out, be helpful in a constructive way. But they're listening to the forums, they're everywhere. Let them know what you're seeing and what your experience is, and everybody's trying to turn it into the best game possible. So we want this guy to be a starter. I'm going to go ahead and just hit submit offer again and see what happens. All right.
Yeah, it should overwrite the other offer when you submit them.
That's what I was hoping for. All right, so we've got an offer out to Williams. And Jackson's young. That's a tough rating. I like him as a backup. He seems like a good guy, and he's not asking for anything. Well, at least his base salary is $300, and this is more of like a. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute. Let's get away from the contracts for a minute, guys. Let's go back and make sure that I've given you all, because I have simulated through a little bit. Let me make sure that everybody knows where I'm at. All right, so Chris is over here in chat asking if I need a killer tight end like in the current game. I would absolutely love to have a killer tight end. I tried to negotiate with a fairly young tight end that we had on the roster last year, and I just couldn't sign him. And, again, that goes back to this team hasn't been built so far exactly the way I would like to build a team. Ordinarily I would have loved to have re-signed him, and it just didn't work out for a number of reasons. Drinking more beer helps with trade ideas. It does help with trade ideas. I can attest to that. I can't promise you that they're good ideas, but it does give you more ideas. All right, we've run through our quarterbacks. We've run through our running backs. Here at guard, I re-signed Suafilo, and I drafted Lance in the second round of this past draft. So this is going to be a rookie. He should be starting, and you guys will notice Billy Price has moved on. He wanted a fairly large contract. We let him go. Moving on down, Christopher Bisson. He's a big 6'7", 322-pound tackle with a pretty good overall rating. This is a guy that I drafted in the second round last year. But look at my boy. Where is he from? If you guys can see on this screen, let's let's just make it a little bit bigger for you to see. 6'7", 322, 25 years old, out of the University of Louisville. He's a Cardinal. Of course, that sealed the deal for me. There was another guy that was about even with him as far as the coach's evaluation, and it's my boy from the Ville coming in 90 miles up Interstate 71 to play for the Bengals. At center, we still got Trey Hopkins. We did draft Colin Ruff late, I believe. Yeah, 7th round. So we don't have a whole lot of depth there on the line. It's very much a work in progress. If any of these guys get hurt, I guess Adeniji, I do not know how to pronounce his name. Maybe he could step in, but we could be in some. We just don't have any depth there. We don't have any depth there. Same thing at tight end. Carl Spivey is a guy that we drafted. All CJ Azuma, all those guys that you guys have traditionally seen with the Bengals, they've moved on. And that was a failure on my part to re-sign them because I wasn't going in. I didn't know that this drop-down was here. I knew there was a drop-down there. I just never checked it. And, sometimes I speed through things and don't check. So we need depth at tight end for certain. Wide receiver, I'm actually happy with the wide receivers that we have. We need some more of them. We're definitely overpaying for Woods. This Stanley Morgan, I have no idea where this guy's coming from. He was on the roster when I started. Take a look here. Look at the production out of Stanley Morgan. Almost 1,000 yards his first year, almost 1,400 last year with 8 touchdowns. Guys, that's a heck of a year out of a wide receiver. So I went looking for a target for Joe Burrow to throw to, brought in Robert Woods, who had a pretty good year himself. 1,250 yards, 11 touchdowns. But Stanley Morgan is also has been a standout, much more so than a guy like Tyler Boyd. Like I was saying, you look at what he's done here receiving-wise, it's just not what you would expect. So, on to the corners. We've got William Jackson. Any Bengals fan knows him. He's there. Ivory Laney, who was our first-round pick, I've already talked about him. I signed Jalen Ramsey. This is another one where I had all of that money. I had an absolute dreadful defense, so I went out and grabbed Jalen Ramsey. So not only do we have an outstanding young prospect here, but we've got an outstanding cornerback on the other side of him, and he's actually mentoring Laney. So this is a pairing I was really looking to keep together. And if you jump over here and take a look at the contract, where is... So here he is. He's still got 3 years left on this. I just re-signed him. This is Ramsey is actually the guy when we were talking about contracts earlier. This is the one where I was figuring out that this desired contract changes around a little bit. And he got pretty pissed off at me when I offered him a bad one. But eventually, I paid the man, and he's going to be here. So we have got a couple of lockdown cornerbacks, and I feel like that really allows a defense to play some more man. You can put those cornerbacks out on an island. These guys probably don't need as much help as some others might. And also Trey Waynes has been very, very productive for us. I don't know if it's going to show out on the stats. You can see the tackles that he had in 2020 when he started more games. Now last year he didn't start as much. He was more of a fill-in because we had Laney and Ramsey. But in 2020 he was our top cornerback, no questions asked. Look at that, 25 passes defensed. 2 defensive touchdowns. I mean, he was a heck of a player. So cornerback's looking solid there. I'm comfortable with that. Linebacker's another place where I dropped some money. We went out and brought in Darius Leonard. We paid Raekwon McMillan. We paid Logan Wilson, a little bit more of a backup role there. And then we came out and drafted Patrick Larson. So with Larson on the team and making a big chunk of money there as the number 2 overall draft pick, we'll probably end up letting at least one of these other guys go. But I did go out and get Billings on the squad. He's hurt right now, but he can definitely hold it down there at the defensive tackle. This is going to be a position of need for next year. We'll have DJ Reader play this year, and after that, we're going to need some help right here. So that's probably a first-round position of need for next year. Defensive end, I would love to go big on a defensive end. This guy, Rory Weiss, is actually another one of our draft picks. You can see here he was drafted in the 3rd round, and it was interesting to me to see, and we'll get into it when we get to the draft. You guys are going to see that draft. But Weiss was a guy that the coaches recommended in the 3rd. Joe Lejeune, Joe here was actually projected in either the second or third round. So Joe was projected higher than Weiss, but our coaches were into Weiss. So I drafted him, and it's interesting to see how that's worked out, because Weiss has been the better player, not only on paper, but also in the weekly rankings that I was talking about. He keeps on showing up. So it's interesting to see, and it's something that I'm definitely taking note of going forward. Here at the free safety, Jesse Bates, he's a Bengal. Everybody should know him. Hoyt Jackson was a draft pick. Von Bell is already a Bengal. Thomas Wilder was a draft pick. I signed Hauschka through free agency. And, guys, that's our 43-man roster. We're going to have to fill it out a little bit. I know there's a handful of these positions where we absolutely have to have more players. But while we don't have the screen that tells us, here's the ones you absolutely have to have, what I'll do is go over here and sim and see if it lets us. And if it lets us, then we've got all the minimums covered, and it's not a problem. Wow, look at that. I think we're actually on the road here. Hey, is this a European soccer kind of thing where the home... Wait, if you're looking at this, which team's the home team and which team's the away team?
I think it's actually shifted. Somebody mentioned it on the forum that that the home team was supposed to be on the bottom, because in American you say somebody is at somewhere.
Yeah,
and I think it's the other way around in Europe. I'm not sure.
And that's what I was thinking. I wonder if that was a little bit of that influence, because totally in the States, in pretty much any sport, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, the home team's typically on bottom. In this one, the home team's going to be on top. So in this game, the New England Patriots are actually going to be the home team. And you can see here, we're favored. So that's interesting. Let's check out League Media real quick and check out some of these team rankings and see if they're just really bad. No, look, there's the Patriots at 4.33. So it's going to be interesting to see what holds true, whether it's going to be the power rankings here or whether it's going to be this other projection, because I do feel kind of bad that our power ranking is as low as it is, and that could be just based on our past performance, which has been putrid. But while we still lack depth, I think that this is a better team this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this works out. I can't tell you, we're a couple years into it. Brady has very much retired, even though I guess he was technically a Buck now. So Brady's retired. A lot of those well-known quarterbacks that you guys know, Roethlisberger, he's gone. So, a little bit of interest here. So, guys, I think what we'll do here, we'll watch this game out and see how it plays out. Then I'm going to pull back, and we'll probably just simulate through the rest of the season, and you can see how that plays out. And then I'll show you guys an off season, and I think that'll be a pretty good tour of the Pro Football 2021 for where it stands right now. Of course, it's still being developed in a work in progress, but I think that should show you guys most everything. It can't show everything, but it'll be a good. That's what I'm going to do. That's my plan. If you guys want to see other stuff, though, please shout it out in chat. If you want to see different screens, or if you want to see different views, other rosters, whatever it is you guys are interested in, just shout it out and I'll give it to you. But for right now, I think now what I can do, last time I went in and hit play game and actually had to go play by play. My understanding is I can just hit sim game, and then I'm going to get two options. One of them is to show the score. The other one should be to watch the game, and then I should just be able to sit back and watch. So that's what we're going to try, and if it doesn't work, then we'll do it on the next week. But we're going to sim this game. It's not going to show it to us. We're not going to sim it because we do not have a full roster. So let's fix that first. And the first thing it's telling us is we got to grab a fullback. So right up here, guys, are those options. You got your league office. I probably haven't gone through these. I don't think I went through these on the last screen. You'll get here the league office. It's giving you league news over here. Aaron Donald suffered a major injury. It's giving you some season predictions. These are the league overall stats, so you can see people. And while I like to talk about, this is a beta, this is a work in progress, what's really on point is like the league stats and the football simulation itself. Like I have questions trying to figure out, like, how do I sign this guy, or how do I see this, whatever it is, and that can all be fixed. But man, it's good at simulating American football. So you can actually see here the league stats overall. You can see over the history of this league, like the one that I'm simulating, what those stats have been. And you guys can go and compare it. I've seen all the time, in sports sim games, that's one of the hardest things to do is make the stats right. And, people are always complaining like, my team doesn't pass enough, or my basketball team doesn't shoot enough threes, or whatever it is. Like, okay, bounce over here. Here's the league stats. Go check it out and go compare it. And if there's issues, I'm sure people will listen and fix it. But this all looks spot on. And game by game, looking at it, it's been spot on for the most part in what I can see. But this is your league office. Oh, shoot. That's an export button. I've actually never clicked that, and I don't know what it does, but that exported something. Here's your inbox. As we go through the season, we'll get these different things. And here's what I was talking about, the player performances. Being a preseason game, you can see Stephen Watkins showed up on here. And Burrow even showed up. Preseason week 1, he probably played like one quarter. But he still showed up. Great attitude, awareness, great effort. Production was limited because he didn't play a full game. But that's just a preseason thing. So I'll delete those emails for now because I'm not as interested in the preseason. Here, if you want to trade, here's where you trade. If you want to sign free agents, you go right here. And then over here is scout the draft. Right now we need to sign a free agent. I know we at least need a fullback. So I'm going to clear these out and just check the fullbacks. So we don't have one on the team, but at the same time, I don't want to pay a ton of money. Now this is interesting because from this screen, you can just come over here and sign to active roster. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this is just going to sign them to a 1-year league minimum contract. Is that basically what's going on? Maybe, probably. I think that's what's going on. He could have stepped away for a minute, or he might be on mute and not know it. So we're just going to sign him and move on forward and see what happens. All right. Yeah, this has definitely changed because this box up here that you guys can see, it used to be right here in the middle, more of a green outlined white box, and it's moved up here, which is more similar to college basketball and pro basketball 2020. So we signed our fullback, and I'm just going to go through, and this is the easiest way to get a minimum roster, so I'm just going to keep hitting it. Need a defensive tackle. This won't take but a second to add these guys because there's really no negotiation. They're just on the team after you select them. So I'm just I'm taking a look at age and taking a look at overall, and I'm going for it. Actually, Rennell Wren was on the team last year, so I will sign him. He was actually a decent player when he had to play. I just didn't have the money to re-sign him. All right, so we have met our minimums. We're good to go. It successfully simmed that game, guys. So now we're going to watch and see what happens, and we're just going to let this play out. You guys can see, obviously, I'm sure I talked about it in the last stream, but I do have some mods on here. None of this comes standard with the game. I've added these graphics. These are all user modifications. I also went in and manually found the Wikipedia and updated all of the stadium names. So that's all things that I've changed from the base game. But let's play this game, guys. We'll see how the speed feels and how it looks as it goes. And if I need to speed it up or you guys want to see something different, just, again, shout it out in chat. So let's see what's going on here. Uh-oh. It's like offsides already. Oh, Burrow tried to get to Woods. Fell incomplete. Oh, what was that, Mixon? 3 yards. Burrow. Burrow takes a big sack on the first drive of the game, guys. Ouch. So we got to punt it away. Oh, wait a minute. No. This is Cincinnati. This is Paul Brown Stadium. And so this has been flipped around. The team on bottom is now the home team, apparently.
Okay.
Nice. So that's a welcome change, because that does get confusing when you're used to that your whole life, and then it gets flipped around. So it looks like that's set up the American way now. Look at that, Laney jumping in, breaking up a pass, and New England punts.
No. I fixed that.
Ah, nice. So see, guys, they're listening. You see these things, and you point it out, and they're listening, and they're fixing. Oh! Look at that. 19 yards to Robert Woods. First down, Bengals. Mixing up the middle, not much there. Mixing up the middle, not much there. Burrow hits Spivey for a first down. So big third down conversion there. Oh, he just threw into double coverage and got it to Boyd. Mixon loses a yard, so we're going to have a 3rd and 2. And that looks good. Oh, look who's making moves. Joe Mixon, 19 yards. 1st and goal. Oh, and Burrow eats a sack. Of course he does. All right, 2nd and goal from the 13. Going to get it back over to Mixon. 5 yards. So he gets him in a better position, but Burrow's going to have to make a throw. Gets it over. Tyler Boyd, 7 yards, and they 4th and 1 and kicked a field goal. All right, so guys, it's points. And I will say that looks like another thing that's been fixed is previously on the scoring plays, the animation jumped a little bit, and so it looks like that's been fixed. Ooh, Cam Newton taking off on me. He's gone. Touchdown, 76 yards for Cam Newton. So, right when we took a little bit of a lead, here comes New England. But they missed the extra point. They either missed the extra point or went for 2. I didn't check. I'm sure we could go back to a play-by-play and see that, but I'm going to not worry about it. Oh! Burrow with the big play. 42 yards to Tyler Boyd down the sideline. So, pregame, I was kind of talking about how disappointed I was with Boyd, and here we go again. Tyler Boyd with another catch for 34 yards. So, Tyler Boyd's going off in this first quarter, folks. Joe Mixon for 9 yards. 2nd and 1 on the 5. Let's see, we need to punch it into the end zone here. This might be where Chris's big tight end would have made the difference. Threw it to Boyd, incomplete. Burrow, once again, incomplete. And another field goal, so that's heartbreaking. You got to convert. But at least it brings it back to a tie. I really like this version where I'm not clicking the button every time. I can just kind of sit back and watch. Who took the over? Hey, look, it was a 3.5 point spread, and we're favored at home. And I'm pretty sure, I think 2.5. Isn't 2.5 typically the home team advantage in a spread? So, we've got a little advantage in this, apparently, at least according to those odds, but definitely not according to power rankings. So, again, we'll see which one wins out. Oh, Cam Newton kills us on 3rd down. Former Bengal Marvin Sanu eating us up. Boom! There's Rory Weiss, the 3rd round pick with a big time sack. Love to see that. We've had absolutely dreadful quarterback pressure in our first 2 years. So New England goes with the field goal, and Rohrwasser hits it 9-6. Still no touchdowns here in the first game of the year. There's Trey Waynes taking it out to the 19. Burrow to pass. Sacked again. Man, it looked like that tight end was wide open. 2nd and 16. What do we have? Oh, a little separation there. And again, Tyler Boyd. So something's lit a fire underneath of Tyler Boyd. Intercepted. Absolutely brutal. Cam Newton doing a little dance, getting outside the pocket, and he's taking it in again. Cam Newton is killing us. Oh, shoot. I said no touchdowns. Cam Newton had that first one, but they missed the extra point, so it just looked like it. Cincinnati's down big early, and this is about what I expected. We're terrible. We're absolutely terrible.
It's the Belichick thing.
Yeah, I think that might be right. I think Belichick is just out coaching us. I got to build up more of that line, though. I got to give these guys some room to make some plays. You know, I think...
I noticed that your pass blocking was really bad on the line.
Yeah, it is. All of the blocking on the line is really bad. And so, like, I think that when you add more guys on the line, then they can kind of make up for... Oh, interception by Jalen Ramsey, first down. And that's why I think football's won and lost on the line. You know, good linemen can make time and make space for playmakers on offense, and unnecessary roughness, automatic first down. All right, we're set up here. And we're going to throw it? No. Touchdown. Woo. The same thing on defense, guys. You know, I think, to me, a good defensive lineman can stuff up the run, put pressure on a quarterback, and give those corners and linebackers a bit of a breather. So linemen can really affect every other position on the field. They can make them better or worse. So I got to work on that. There's Von Bell jumping in, breaking up a pass. So, yeah, over time, we're going to beef up that line. But right now, that's definitely where we need to improve at. Sony Michel. I think he's a Georgia product, right? We had the One Delicious Founders early. But I want this to be as I said right off the bat, super streaming Saturday. We got to last a while, so we're going to switch it over to something a little bit lighter here. And then we got the big Louisville Cardinals going up against Western Kentucky tonight at 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. So make sure to tune in and check out my boys if you're in the States and you get the ACC Network. I wonder if they get you get ACC Network up in Canada, Chris? There we go, T. Higgins. So it's funny, you know, Higgins was kind of an afterthought. Boyd was underperforming, and now in this game, Boyd's going crazy. There's Higgins with the play, and Stanley Morgan's absolutely nowhere. Ooh, looked like Jonah Williams with the big pancake block. Out to the wide receiver for Tyler Boyd. Nice. So when you say you saw that our pass blocking was bad, what screen were you seeing? Were you seeing that on? What?
That was on the roster screen.
On the roster screen? Just as you go through the positions, noticing the ratings?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So I noticed that like all of your guards were like sub 70 in pass blocking.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
But it all depends about, you know, how deep you want to go.
Oh, yeah.
I know some people in the try-hard multiplayer leagues, they have like 2 offensive lines, and then they go into the packages. He's doing it again with the running out of bounds. I'm sure I fixed that.
Yeah, I saw that where he went out of bounds. I was curious what happened on that play, but I think it said he got ran out, but I just didn't see a 2D dimensional dude around him.
Yeah, I think he's scrambling and buying time, and then it gets into some sort of loop. I fixed it already, but maybe we undid it. I'll look at it again.
Yeah, it's always nice, I think, to just like the more people look and see and observe, then the better and better this stuff gets. So it's all good. They get the punt, take the fair catch, and we're tied up, guys. We're going head-to-head. I'm going head-to-head with Belichick here. I did greatly improve my coaches in this offseason. That's one thing. In the first offseason, I wasn't very good with the staff hiring process. Second season, I got it down a little bit better, and we got a much better coaching staff. So I'm hoping to see some improvements there. It did cost me a good portion of my scouting budget, but I think I'm willing to take that trade-off to some degree because those coaches are going to have so many effects, you know, morale and leadership and development and scouting and 100 different things that the coaches do. So if I've got to give up a little bit of my draft scouting for all of those other benefits, that's a trade-off I will take. Incomplete pass there. Oh, Chris, you don't get the college channels. That's brutal, man. What kind are you do like some kind of online streaming service or what? 'Cause I just have like the YouTube TV. I used to have the PlayStation Network, man, but they canceled it. That was terrible. Joe Mixon hands the ball off. Looks like they went with a little wildcat there. Burrow, oh, found the tight end. He's wide open. Look at this. Found Carl Spivey. Can he get there? Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. The big tight end outruns the safety. That's a huge 84-yard touchdown. Joe Burrow to Carl Spivey. The Bengals are taking the lead in Paul Brown Stadium, 23-16 over the Patriots. This is our year, guys. I'm telling you. The coaching changes, the added depth at linebacker and cornerback. Like, we're turning the corner. We're figuring this out. 2nd and 9, 3rd and 3. Get this stop. Yeah, Burrow's the man. Ah, they got the first down. Brutal. Another first down. Cam Newton's been having a pretty good game outside of running out of bounds. Billings got him there, the big man. And, you know, that's nice. It seems like everything has been Cam Newton, at least to this point. Of course, there's Sony Michel for 6 yards. But, again, he didn't convert. So we've held their running game pretty well. It's mostly just been when Cam Newton's gotten loose. All right, so here goes Burrow to the side. Don't run out of bounds for a safety. So there was the invisible man chasing him out again. But that's all right.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. That's so weird.
And there's always little things like that. I mean, when you're trying to simulate an entire professional sport, there's always going to be these little things here and there. So, you know, if you love these kind of games, you figure stuff out like that. You know, I can figure it out in my head what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean exactly that event. I've been having like lots of discussions with the guy over at the CSFL league. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, they have a multiplayer league and they're pretty competitive, so they get super angry when something weird happens, which is fair. You know, we want enthusiastic guys. So I actually spent some time fixing that, but it must have snuck back in somehow. I don't know. I'll look at it.
And that's always just one of those interesting things. Like it could easily be a safety, and that somebody was just chasing him, and the 2D graphical representation doesn't show it, or it could be that that they're back there just looking for time and running out of bounds, and there's too many safeties and too many sacks overall. So it can be either one. You never know.
Yeah, so this thing is he's actually trying to buy time, mm-hmm. and then gets stuck into a loop where he keeps scrambling somehow.
Yeah, because on a play, Robert Woods was wide open downfield and dropped it. Or whether it was a drop or whether it was just a miss by Burrow. But yeah, like on that one where Burrow ran out for the safety, that looked like one where he could take off. Now, I know there was a thing, here he goes again, because it looks like he could take off here, and he ends up going out of bounds. I wonder if that's a thing, because I know at some point there was like the non-scrambling quarterbacks were running a little bit too much. I wonder if it has anything to do with it. I don't know. Yeah. I just guess at stuff like that. Probably not. I know it's a 2-point game. Here goes Cam. Throws it on the run, and it falls incomplete. All right, guys, we're getting down to it. We're down to about 5 minutes. It's a 2-point game. Oh, we were so close to getting him, and then Waynes brings Cam down, and they punt. So we've got the ball up 2 in the fourth quarter with 4.5 minutes to go. Let's see if we put points on the board. If we can get a touchdown here, that's ball game. But we should be running. So Mixon runs there. I would hope. No, we're going to go to the air. We're going to go to the air. It's a complete Robert Woods. Oh, 3rd and 1. Going to the air again. He hits him. Oh, my goodness. He hit Spivey. Spivey got loose. And we're going to run it. Mixon couldn't get in. Get in. Get in the end zone. Nope. 3rd and goal. 2 minutes to go. And Mixon gets stopped again, so it's looking like a field goal. 5-point game with 2 minutes. Can this defense hold? Five points, guys. Incomplete pass. Feeling good. Yeah, we got stuffed, man. We should have got that one in. Our red zone offense has been really bad, and going back to what you were saying, Chris, a big time playmaking tight end, that's where that would really come in handy. Or, for example, the big time running back that I just didn't re-sign last time. But coming off of ACL, I'm not paying anybody $7-8 million, whatever he was asking for. We're running down now. 30 seconds left in the game. Newton had spiked. Oh, he's wide open. Please catch him. Whew. How much time is left? That was it? That was the last play. They had no more timeouts. They hit a wide open wide receiver, but we caught him. And guys, that's the end of the game. Cincinnati Bengals, 26-21. Pick up the home win in Paul Brown Stadium. 5-point win. We even beat the spread. That's killer. You gotta like that. So we can see. There it is. Let's check out our box score here. So passing-wise, Joe Burrow killed it. 19 of 26, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have the early interception. What's up, Breeze? Glad to have you by, buddy. We're playing a little pro football right now. We're going to get into a little college basketball a little later and maybe a little bonus after that. But so stick around all day. But checking out this pro football, Burrow, 19 of 26, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 124.7 passer rating is pretty good. Mixon could have done better, but again, that goes back to our offensive line, and we talked about that a little bit. My offensive line leaves a lot to be desired. Tyler Boyd and Carl Spivey both had ridiculous days. Both of them 130 yards, a touchdown for Spivey. Robert Woods with a touchdown and just shy of 50 yards. So great day out of a couple of our receivers there. Take a look at the defense. Laney, that early draft pick, 8 tackles, 2 passes defended. Looking good there. McMillan, Ramsey. Ramsey had the interception. So, big first
Before you
week.
leave the box score, make sure to check out the analysis button at the top.
Yeah, the analysis button. We definitely are going to check that out. So, what we're going to do, we're going to simulate the rest of week 1 for everyone else. Beating the Patriots isn't disrespectful. He said Boston everyone hates the most. It's funny because they went so long without any big championships, and then they won just starting with the Patriots over the Rams. Ever since then, Boston sports just did a 180, and yeah, you're right. Now everybody hates them. So yeah, this is the 3rd season. We ran through Burrow's entire rookie year. We ran through 1 year after that, and now here we are in the 3rd year. We hit the draft. We've done 2 drafts actually, and we're just getting into this 3rd year. No.
Is it stuck in the sim?
I'm looking. It may have gotten stuck a little bit.
That would be sad.
That would be. Hope it doesn't erase my big win. Who won the Super Bowl 2021? It was... Let's see, it was the Falcons versus somebody. We can go back and check that, Breeze. Unfortunately, it looks like we might have gotten stuck here.
Maybe try hitting escape.
Escape?
Yeah, maybe.
Nah. Let's... Just going to see if I can minimize and bring it back up. I've not seen it ever get stuck. Hey, we're still in beta. We can leave everything out here. We're trying to see what... we're just adding experiences and gathering information here. It's what it's all about, folks.
That's good for me to check out, at least.
Yeah, and it's nice to have you here for the whole thing and see like exactly how we got there and the order of everything, because I'm sure sometimes it's just a mystery.
Let me apologize in person as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, save along the way.
When you start it back up and sim it again, you lose to the Patriots.
Probably so. You know what? Now that's a great point. I think you may have just done all of the troubleshooting you needed to right there. So, guys, what we've actually experienced here, if you guys are unfamiliar, especially you being outside of the States, Bill Belichick did sell his soul for football success. And what you're seeing here is it's actually bled over into this game, so that when you beat the Bengals, the game crashes. So what I've got to say is it's actually very realistic. There's no possible way to beat the Patriots. It's like illegal, basically. So that's what we're seeing here. I will close
It's the computer
out.
game version of the Inflategate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. In-game version of Deflategate. I love it. Trying to show a video. So yeah, we'll bring it back up and see exactly. I don't know if we had an autosave at any point or exactly where we are. I know for a fact like we can't be any further back than the beginning of this season, because that's where we started the stream. So we're not losing too awful much time, and we're giving just more and more data to the people that are working to get it all up and ready for the full release. So win all around. Got to have a great little 2D representation of a beatdown on the Patriots, and if it didn't take, we all know in our hearts who won.
Yeah, you still have it on your stream.
Exactly. We can remember the time. Yeah, it took us back before. So now we're just going to sim it, and then we're just going to check the score and see what happened. Oh, we got to go back and sign a fullback, and I think a defensive tackle. All right, I believe last time that we added, and you might have stepped away or been muted earlier when I was talking about signing free agents here, but when we just signed the active roster here, am I right in assuming that it's signing to a minimum contract for 1 year?
Yeah, it does. I actually went to the bathroom and I didn't want to say anything.
No, that's all right. I had asked and you stepped away, and I was like, well, maybe he's muted or just stepped away or something, but we're all good to go. That's what I figured that it was. So it's good to have confirmation of that. So this is 100%, guys. This is signing a player to a 1 year contract for the minimum that player can be signed for.
Yeah. So in these settings, you can set the minimum contracts for different overall ratings.
And I assume, is it correct to assume that you can always sign a player for the minimum, even if you're over the cap room like we currently are?
That depends. There's a setting actually where you can force a strict cap.
Okay.
So that won't allow you to go over. So if you have that on, you'll have to cut someone first. That can lead to a spiral of bad decisions.
That sounds like it. I'm very much on the default settings, so it appears that we can sign minimum players. And in my experience with like different American sports, that seems to be, I know the NBA can always sign a minimum contract player. I would assume that's similar for the NFL, but it's weird. I watch the NFL more, but I actually know more about the NBA contract structures just because it's so much more intricate and weird. So, but long story short, we've got our two players signed. We can jump over here, sim this game, show the score. Whoa, that time we actually tied. Interesting, 31-31. So now let's see if we can sim here and if we have any issue with simming this. Don't have an issue again, please.
Well, that's a great comeback for Patriots as well.
Right. I see. I'm starting. Let's see. hopefully this goes through. If not, it might be a thing where I can save this and send it in for somebody if you need it.
Yeah, I think I'm checking the forums, and I think it's been highlighted already.
Okay.
That it's something with the newest build, I think.
So again, folks, beta build, we're learning all the time. They go in, they fix 100 things, and it might break 2 or 3 or 5 things in the background. So that's why we have betas. it's the reason for the season. So not the end of the world by any means. Let's one more time shut it down, bring it back up, and we'll see if I don't simulate my game first, if I just try to sim through that, can we cruise on past it? Let me go and sign the other players that I need to sign first. But if I sign those other players and then we want to go on past it, well, let us do it then, because I would really like to show you guys a draft today. So I'm going to do what I can. If you have any other ideas or workarounds to move past it, shout them out.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm drawing a blank here. But if you're smart, you save after you signed the 2 players, so you don't have to do it every time.
Good point. I also wonder if it could be because I don't have a full roster necessarily, so I wonder if anything about my roster is affecting it. But if other people on the forums are experiencing it, it might not be related to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably something with the build. But I think actually a new build will come out like tonight or tomorrow or something like that. No promises though, of course. But I know that we have a significant amount of changes stacked up already.
Yeah.
So I would expect something to come out shortly.
All right, so we have signed our players. We have saved. Let's see if we can simulate through this full week 1 here. Maybe, maybe not.
Chris has the inside scoop. It's still Belichick.
Yeah, I definitely am 100% leaning toward it being Belichick. Like I'm thinking it's because I was playing against the Patriots and it's an issue.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like it's screwed.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be an issue, guys. So we'll go ahead and close that down. And, I really still going to bring you all a draft as soon as I can. It sounds like they're working on these fixes. It sounds like this is an issue that's been reported on the forum, and I'm sure, I know they postponed the stream that they usually do Friday nights so that they could dive into this and work on it full time. So I'm sure that they're very much on it and working on it. So we'll keep our ear to the ground, and when they get that new update out, I'll definitely bring it to you because, guys, I know that some of you all have played either the pro basketball or the college basketball, and, the pro basketball has a pretty cool draft, and the college basketball has, like, the Selection Sunday, where it has, like, the cool, like, cut scene, I guess you would call it, in any other game. And in this one, it's really awesome because it goes through and it has, like, an intro to the draft, and I guess I got to give away some of it now that I can't show it today, but it's like, like one pick changes a whole franchise and a city and lifts them up and all this other stuff. And not only is it giving you like a really cool cutaway, but it's also giving you some of those players who are projected to be the top 10 players. So, it's cool and it's immersive, but it's also a little bit informative because now it's giving you like, hey, like you might want to check out this guy if you're looking to draft in the top 10. So it's a really cool thing. And I'm definitely going to bring it to you guys. Once a new build gets out, I'll update it and stream again and bring this stuff out. This is just one of the things that happens if you're streaming early access beta versions of games. This sort of thing is going to happen, and it's to be expected, honestly. Yeah,
it sucks for the streaming experience, of course. But
yeah, it does, and I hate to show the fly in the ointment or whatever it is on a stream live because there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's just there. But very much understood, and I know everybody that's in the chat and everything else and that's watching later is going to understand. It's a beta build, guys. It's not perfect, and they know that. That's why we're doing it. So It's just one of the known risks, hazards of the job, whatever you want to call it. You want to stream some first early access stuff, you're going to run into some early access issues like that. The good news, folks, is this is Streamapalooza, Saturday, Super Stream, whatever you want to call it. So pro football is a part of what we're doing today. We're also going to get into some other stuff. So, you can hang out on Voice as long as you want, because we're going to jump in now to a little bit of college basketball. And
yeah, I'll have to jump out. I think I'll have to take
Perfect.
care of my wife a bit before she goes to bed.
It sounds about right, man. I understand those struggles. So, hey, big shout out, big thanks. So glad to have you here as a special guest today to kind of guide us along, show us some stuff that I hadn't seen. I don't know if you guys in chat and that are going to be watching this later on YouTube and whatnot, if you all haven't seen it, but definitely a big thanks. There's nobody better at reaching out and engaging than the guys at Wolverine Studios. They're always quick with fixes, quick to respond if you send in trouble tickets, and quick to jump in here and just have a chat with us and sit around and waste an hour on a stream with us on a Saturday. So thank you so much for stopping by, man. I really, really greatly appreciate your time, and I'm loving the game so far, and I got high hopes for where it's going to end up.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure, and we can do it again sometime. Definitely, maybe after the next build.
Absolutely. You let me know when, and you're welcome back anytime you like. So, thanks to him for stopping by. But what we're going to do now, folks, we're jumping into Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2020, because we got some green wave, the Tulane green wave. I told you all this is not over. I told you just because pro football was coming out, we were coming back to this. We could not stop until we got through Higgins' senior year. So, no, there's no thanks for the stream, Breeze. This thing's still going. We've lost our special guest, but we're very much still streaming. This is going for a while. Oh, you want me to stop this stream session and restart a new one? Yeah, I can do that. Guys, I'm gonna kill the stream. Give us 2-3 minutes and I'll start it back up. So Breeze, anybody else that's still in here, hang tight. Let us reset and we'll jump back on in 1 sec.